Okay. Dan, did you want to do a little preamble real quick about what we're actually seeing on the login screen in terms of that background image?
Sure, I think it does help. So what you're going to see here is one of our demonstration sites. So it's populated with example data and kind of nurturing and instructional information for new customers. So if a brand new customer of ours was to sign up for an eval today or buy a new site, this is what it would look like. It's far more instructional. It's filled with things that you can do currently in your own version of Issuetrak, but this is how we set it up to kind of teach people. But it kind of has the understanding of why it kind of does some of the things it does, because it's designed for that new person who's never interacted with issue tracking in a substantive way. But everything you see on our screens and that's going on as far as displaying is all totally capable within the version you're in now, and then the menuing stuff when you get to 14. You'll also see that this site is configured with some basic features turned on and off, and that does control what you do and don't see. So anything, there's a few new featurey things as part of the menuing that John will go into, but largely what you see is derived by what you have enabled, and nothing will change as far as those functions when you upgrade.
So yeah, and to Dan's point, looking at the login screen, there were some changes made to the screen, but those changes primarily were on not the back end per se. You're going to notice once I get logged into the product that the logos are repositioned inside the product. Because we did that, we knew, or there was a concern that that would change or impact the login screens. So what we did was we actually created new logo fields specific to the login screen on the site appearance page, and took whatever you had in your existing logo spots and basically duplicated that and put them into the new login screen logo fields. So when you get 14, your login screen visually won't look any different than what you have right now. In fact, if anything, if you so wanted to in the future on that site appearance page, you could put login screen specific logos there if you wanted to. You don't have to, and you can just keep what's there right now. But that's actually kind of, I guess, a new capability for our existing customers that they didn't have before, is that ability to specify login screen logos. Outside of that, the login screen itself hasn't changed, and it's exactly the same as it is now. All right, so with that out of the way, I will go ahead and click sign in here and get inside of Issuetrak. Obviously, a lot is new and different right off the bat. So what I'm going to do is break down, I guess, kind of the key areas here and walk through the changes one step at a time. And if you have any questions about them, feel free to ask. We'll start with the top bar. And I guess really the top area, because one of the things you should notice that's missing is there's no longer that top horizontal banner area. We removed that. It was taking up a lot of space. In fact, a lot of our customers put a white background on there and as a way of kind of trying to make it disappear or fade into the background. But we took that off. And as a consequence, that logo that was on the upper left-hand side of that horizontal banner area, that's one of the things we repositioned to now be in the top bar in the upper left. This bar does have a max height associated with it now. So we are doing some resizing of the images to make sure that they fit in that space. So whatever image you have in the upper left-hand corner today, we will be moving to that new spot and resizing it appropriately so that it fits there. And we'll make sure it maintains the aspect ratio, so it's not going to get stretched or squished. It'll still look nice and clean. In fact, this particular image, as you can imagine, is much larger in reality than what's displayed here. It's actually being resized to fit there nice and sharp and clean. Because of all the work that we have done with new menus and revamping navigation, another thing you'll notice that's missing is we no longer have those top navigation options. They just aren't necessary in the new 14, so they've been removed. And now you'll have your site title here on this left-hand side as a nice little, I guess, kind of design detail. If for whatever reason you don't have a logo here, or if you don't have a site title, this pipe separating the two will go away. It's just a nice little visual distinction between your logo and your title that won't be there if you don't have one or the other. Moving over to the right, the search issue and subject box, the print icon, and the help center icons, all of these have the exact same functionality. as they do today. With the print icon and the help center icon, we did spruce them up a little bit, so they'll look better, sharper, clearer for you. But again, nothing different as far as functionality is concerned. With the gear settings icon, that will do something new, and I'll get into that here in a moment. This still invokes settings, but the actual settings menu looks different. What's important to note while I'm looking at it is if you don't happen to have access to any administrative settings within the product, you won't see this gear icon here. This is dependent on you actually having access to some settings to change. In the far upper right, you'll see the name of the person logged in. So there I am. Clicking on that will now bring up this new drop-down menu. If you have access to them, or if the person logged in has access to them, or you have the features turned on, you'll now be able to see my settings, change password. Your logout option will be here. And this is also where you'll find the current version of Issuetrak you have installed. As you may or may not have noticed, we actually removed the footer area of the application. We still wanted to preserve the Issuetrak version number and how that's someplace easily accessible. So we shifted that to be at the bottom of this dropdown. And again, if you're on a support call or need to open a support ticket, you'd like to provide that build information, that's still available to you if you hover over the current version of Issuetrak. So that is the new top bar. Again, this has max height associated with it. So, if you happen to have a logo here that's pretty massive, in fact, the logo that I have on this preview site is pretty big, it will resize to fit the space. We wanted to make sure that, large images, things like that didn't affect the integrity of the look and feel of the application. So you won't have to worry about putting a large image here and then suddenly your top bar is taking up half the screen. Not an issue in 14. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and click on this settings gear. This is going to be, other than what you're already looking at, one of the bigger visual changes that you'll notice with Issuetrak 14. So invoking settings now brings up a brand new settings light box. One of the things you should hopefully notice is that doing that didn't take me away from the screen that's behind. It will, bringing up this box anywhere in the product will allow you to remain where you're at. So for example, if you're like me and you accidentally click on it or think you need to click on it, go there and then change your mind, it's not going to take you away from the page that you were on. Additionally, it's not going to overwrite, like it does in the product today, the options available to you in the left-hand menu. Those things will remain there. Again, this all new settings box is invoked above everything, gives you instant access to all the settings you would need to get to within the product. What's really great about this is one of the things we focused on most heavily with 14 was transparency and making everything available and visible to people, so things weren't nested and hidden. So if you have access to the light box, you should be able to see all the settings available within your application. You may not necessarily be able to access everything based on whether features are turned on or off or whether you have permissions to them, but the settings available to Issuetrak will be visible to everyone here. As I mentioned, if you don't have access to something or something isn't turned on, the link itself was what will look different. So here's a good example of that. My preview site does not have causes enabled. So as you can see here, it's italicized, which stands out from the other options. If for whatever reason I didn't have permission to access causes, then it would be grayed out. If you ever notice a link on the screen that is different than just a standard looking link, hovering over it will tell you exactly what's going on. So for example, causes isn't enabled right now. It lets me know that. What's really awesome about this, the way we have this light box set up and our settings set up now, is if you do have access to a feature and it's just not turned on, we've actually turned those into hyperlinks so that if I were to click causes in this case, it would take me to the section of the system settings where I can then activate that feature. And it'll also scroll to that area of the screen. So if I come back to home here and re-invoke settings, and this time click on admin auditing, for example, it had actually scrolled down the features list to have admin auditing right there front and center for me. I can quickly get that enabled and move about my day. We took this opportunity by setting up this new settings light box to also reorganize our settings, and group them together in ways that make sense. Perfect example of this that made everybody happy. So we now have an email section, and you'll now find incoming email and outgoing email where they should be, right next to each other, partners in crime, very easily identified and found. For our asset, asset management is a good example, but for our add-on modules, where it made sense, they do have their own sections. So again, like asset management, that's a pretty large module. It made sense that it have its own section. Identity management as well, but not every module has its own section. Surveys and billing, for example, are grouped in here with tools. And since we did reorganize things, or if you're like me and your eyes just go, a little crazy sometimes, and something's on here and you just can't find it, we added this nice little quality of life feature in the upper right-hand corner of the Lightbox search settings. And what this does is it performs a simple find in this box so you can locate the things you want a little bit faster. So if you're looking for tasks, for whatever reason, you just can't seem to find it, simply typing in task will highlight everywhere on this this window where task is listed. If I know optional fields is on here somewhere, I can just type in option, and there we go, optional fields. It allows you to jump right to it pretty quickly. That is the new settings Lightbox. So hopefully you like it. To close it, you can either click on this X icon, or you can simply click off of it and it'll disappear. Again, it's not taking you away from your current context if you change your mind. If you click on anything, obviously it will take you to that screen. But it's a nice way of again, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we've received over the years is people, a point of frustration that accessing settings a lot of times means you have to get rid of this left-hand bar, and that's no longer an issue today. Speaking of the left-hand menu, let's go ahead and talk about that next. So at the top, you'll see right now I have an image here, your logo here. If you're an existing customer and you have a logo in the upper right-hand corner of that top banner, that is what is being repositioned to be in this space. Very similar, or exactly like we have up here with this logo. This area has a max height associated with it. So any image you have there will be resized, again, maintaining the aspect ratio, all of that, to make sure it fits in properly here and doesn't completely take over the new left-hand menu. We wouldn't want that happening. The new issue button. So this was another big thing that when we were first talking about what we wanted this menu navigation revamp to entail, it was important, especially to me and Dan, that the whole reason our product exists take precedence and be easily accessible, always available, always easy to see, right there, one click away. So we thought, instead of having this just be a simple submit issue or new issue link, let's turn it into a button and let's give it the attention and prominence it deserves, because that's the whole reason why Issuetrak exists. So that will be there, always available for you. Obviously, you can change the color of this button, but that's a great new little feature. Beneath that, you have what I like to call the home base of Issuetrak. So you have your standard left menu options, the main areas of the application. These will always be here, always accessible. They don't get replaced, moved. Obviously, if you don't have projects turned on, for example, you want to see projects, but everything that's enabled and you should be able to see here will be visible. Custom menu links are also all here listed out. Something new you might have noticed are these fancy little icons over here. Now, these do more than just look great and add an extra layer of polish to the application. They actually serve a function. Right now, or as of 14, you'll actually be able to scroll down to the bottom here, click this collapse sidebar option, and shrink the left menu bar. Now those fancy little icons actually do serve a purpose. They let you still get access to those left menu options. If for whatever reason you forget that the lightning bolt represents the awesome power of the issue hub, for example, you can hover over that and still have your one-click easy access to the issue hub. As you may have noticed, let me go ahead and expand back here. I had a number of custom menu links listed. When I collapsed, those disappeared. They folded up back into this custom menu links icon. Well, we didn't want you to lose access to those custom menu links, so clicking that will actually pop out a little window here, so you still have access to all your custom menu links right there, one click away. I'm gonna go ahead and expand this and talk about a huge new feature of Issuetrak, one of my favorite new things that we're implementing, because it just allows for an amazing level of workflow improvements and enhancements, and that is the bookmarks feature. With 14, you will be able to bookmark just about any page within the product. And I'll go ahead and walk you through how that works. So right now, I'm looking at the Issue Hub. If you look up here next to the page title, you'll actually see a little leaflet icon. And right now it's empty because I don't have this page bookmarked. But let's say this was a page that this was important to me, important to my workflow. I wanted to bookmark it. Simply click that icon and a little window will appear and you can give that bookmark a name. I'll go ahead and keep it Issue Hub for now and click Save. Now that icon, that leaflet is filled in to let me know I have bookmarked this page, and Issue Hub is down here at the bottom of my bookmark list. But you know what? I don't want it to be at the bottom. This is really important to me. I'd love for this to be at the top of the list. So I click it and drag it. I can move it to the top of the list, and now it's right there, easily accessible, one click away, no matter where I'm at in the application. If for whatever reason I wanted to change the name, I can click on the little pencil icon, change it to whatever I want, click Save. If I decide I no longer want the bookmark at all, I can click Remove, and it's gone. You can do the exact same thing up here with this icon. So if I click it again, save it, click it once more, change the name, or remove, it's gone. Great new feature. All the bookmarks you've seen here today are things that I bookmarked myself to help with this presentation, to help with my workflow of this presentation. Another one of the more powerful aspects of bookmarks is that this is user specific. So any user who has access to Issuetrak can create bookmarks that are important to them, that mean something to them. If you're a person who takes calls on a help desk and you create a new issue and you want to maintain visibility of that issue because it's an important thing, maybe an important customer, you can bookmark that individual issue, move it to the top of your bookmark list, and have that issue visible to you one click away at all times. If you're setting up a new hire account, you can log in as that new hire and set up some bookmarks potentially to some KB articles that you might have for that new hire and you want them to look at, on their first day, or you have you create a knowledge-based article for a new problem that you need everyone to be aware of. You can send everyone a link to that KB article and make sure they bookmark it here, and that way it's always available for them to have that one-click easy access away.
Hey, John, we got a question. Toby asked us if we can bookmark an external page. No, bookmarks are designed for inside the application, but you can do the saving of an external page using the custom menu options. So like the Issuetrak blog link, Issuetrak website, those are all external links that you can put on your site right now. So you can do exactly what you've asked, but bookmarks are designed for inside of the application, one-click access for any workflow, for any user, for any industry. No matter what you're doing, if there's a place in the product that you need to get to quickly and frequently, you can set that so it's always at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Really likes being able to get access to the search organizations list. So boom, I have that bookmarks right there. One click, easy access. Makes Dan real happy. All right, let me go ahead and go back to the home screen. Similar to how we had the custom menu link set up, if I collapse this bar, you'll notice my individual bookmarks go away. By clicking this bookmark icon, we'll open up a window and again, allow quick one-click access to all of my bookmarks. All right, so that is the left menu. I will now move over to another thing that we're really excited about. It's another kind of, it's both a visual change, something new visually, but also something new functionally. That brings a lot of capabilities to the application, and that's the idea of a context menu. So to show that off, I'm going to go ahead and click on my custom screens bookmark. You'll see that I'm taken to my list of custom screens, and over here on the right is that new context menu. So right off the bat, you can collapse this if you need to, just like the left hand bar. In fact, you can collapse both. If you're on a page that you want to devote your full attention to, you can go into like a focus mode and collapse both bars. And this really helps out, especially you have a smaller screen resolution. If you're viewing the full Issuetrak site from a mobile device or a tablet, being able to collapse both menus right away is great for those experiences. I'm going to go ahead and expand these back out.
It's also adaptive. So as your screen shrinks, it will automatically collapse bars at certain intervals to help make sure that you're your visibility for what's important is not affected.
So one of the things we want to do with this context menu, and the reason why it's so powerful, is it gives us an opportunity to bring different areas of the product together that make sense based on what you're trying to achieve. So for example, I'm on this custom screen page here, and I'm in the submission setup context. So right now I'm going through the process of creating what it means to create an issue in my site. For creating custom screens, something that's intrinsically tied to that process is setting up your user-defined user-defined fields. So maybe you want to start there. So if I click on this, I go to the screen where I can either look at the ones I have or add new ones. But if you go back to the context menu, everything is still here, still one click away, easily accessible, exploded out. So as soon as I'm done making my user-defined fields, maybe I want to jump right over into adding the custom screen rather than have to go to another menu item, wait for the nest to open up, and then go to something else that's nested. It's all right here. No nesting, easily accessible, one click away. Once I'm done adding my custom screen, if I want to associate that with an issue type, I can quickly go back and look at my list of issue types, or jump, if I know the issue type doesn't exist already, I'll just skip right to add and add my new issue type and associate that with my custom screen. This ability to combine and organize things in a way that makes sense in context, what we really hope and expect this should improve the speed of your workflows, help you get work done faster, and really make your lives easier. I'm gonna go ahead and show a few examples of context menus here so you can see some differences. Click on my view issue bookmark. Again, this was an issue that I said was really important to me. I bookmarked it. That way it's always one click accessible for me. Over here in our context menu, we did set up things with issues a little bit differently because issues are different than just about everything else in the product. We organize these, the links and the actions into sections that just made sense. So things that involve viewing options, your update actions here, or your create actions. So if we want to turn this issue into a knowledge base article or clone it, these things, again, are all one click away. Another example that I think is pretty good one to bring up here is system defaults. So I'm at the system's default screen, and I have my system settings context menu over here. A lot of times when people, when you're accessing system settings, you might be going in to change one thing, but there might be a whole ton of things things you need to configure or set up all at one time. So rather than, again, nest a bunch of options and menus that you have to go back and forth, it's now all easily accessible, exploded out for you. You can jump right from your system defaults to your optional fields. If you're like me and you can't remember if things are in features or on optional fields, you can jump back and forth between the two pretty quickly and hopefully find what you're looking for. You want to add your custom menu links, you can add that very easily down here. Again, the context menu allows just very quick, easy access to things that make sense in context to what you're doing. One of the other really great things that we added to this right-hand context menu is this idea of related links. So you notice that this section was present on the submission setup context menu. It was also present on the system settings context menu. Where it made sense, we partnered with Pro Services. So Mike and Paul, you can blame them for this completely. I'm just kidding. We partnered and worked very closely with them to hand select links that we felt were related to the context menus above. So for example, if you're working on setting up your submission process, it's entirely possible that you may want to jump over and look at groups or look at what optional fields you have activated. Take a look at tasks, users. These links are things they didn't necessarily need to live up here in the context menu, exploded out, but they are tangentially related to what you're working on. So we wanted to make sure, again, for ease of access, ease of use, they're right here, one click away, you could jump to them. And again, we worked with Mike and Paul to make sure that the links we loaded here made sense. But again, this is also just a starting area. We received feedback that, hey, it'd be really great if this link were added to the related links section. This is something we can build on and expand on and add more links to as we get feedback or if we get feedback. Where it doesn't make sense for related links to appear, this section won't appear. and very similar to everything else in the application. Everything in the context menu is based off of whether or not you have permissions to see it and whether or not the feature is enabled. So for example, if projects were here and I didn't have projects turned on, it wouldn't appear in related links. If I didn't have permission to access something on this side, then it wouldn't appear for me. It's all based on what you have access to. So you might actually, in some cases, you may be seeing more things in my demonstration than what you actually have available to you on your site today.
And that's a great segue to a question we just got. They asked if we could post a video that shows only user changes, and we can absolutely do that. We can get something up when the webinar ends up being recorded and publicly posted to do so. But in short, if they don't have permissions to a feature, then they won't see anything much different. So the left side for all users will be as an admin sees it and as you see it. If they don't have permission to reporting, then they wouldn't see the report links, same as the product functions now. And that's still same for the instantiation of the gear and the settings box. It's permission controlled, so the same things they see now will stay the same in this new interface. Everybody can interface with issues in most cases. So they'll see the context menu appropriate for what they're permissioned to see. In a lot of cases, like the related links, if there's no related link that they're able to view or interface with because they're not an admin or a read-only admin, then the whole entire related link section will be gone. It won't show. Similar to where you see it on issues. Those are the big differences. Users just won't see what doesn't apply to them. Otherwise, the interface is largely identical. But we'll get a video posted of a difference from an end user perspective as well. Thank you for your question.
Yep, very good question. One of the last things I wanted to show is, for the most part, Issuetrak 14 focuses on improvements to navigation and UI elements related to navigation. But there were a few instances where, as we were going through changes we were making, we also made some minor changes to on-screen actions and on-screen elements. One of the changes I wanted to point out we made was specifically to organization user-defined fields and user-defined fields. When you go to this screen today, actually, this is another really cool thing I can show you is how this can update real time. Right now, I'm on organization fields and I have field 1 activated. If I turn on field 2 and click update, you'll actually see this context menu update real time showing list to list. If I click here, so this is one of the things that we changed. If I were to click add in the product today, it'll actually take you to a whole other page with very few fields on it. And it didn't make sense for that page to exist as a whole separate page. So instead, what we've done, if you click add now, it'll bring up a nice little light box where you can add those options, close out of it, or save, and they'll appear here. Again, clicking this was on a whole separate page. Didn't make sense for it to be there. So we condensed that to be a nice little light box. This is I wanted to show this because it's a small little flourish, but this is a kind of change that you can expect to see throughout Issuetrak as we move forward, as we start evaluating how different pages look, function, feel. This is a sign of things to come. You know, we made a lot of changes with Issuetrak 14. Most of them, again, were specific to navigation. There are other areas of the product that we definitely want to touch from just a aesthetic standpoint, but also from a user experience standpoint to improve and to increase the functionality and do little flourishes like this. It just makes sense. So I wanted to show this because this is just a good sign of a small improvement, little quality of life change, and you'll start to see more of these things as time goes on with Issuetrak. I think that about covers everything that is happening in Issuetrak 14. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you have feedback, anything you want to ask, now is the time to do it. If you want me to demonstrate something again, I'd be happy to do so.
John and Dan, there is one more question in the chat that I'd like to have you respond to here. Is how big should the logo be? Do you want people to play test on your support site? So
we so if you could go to site appearance for us, John, because that page has been redone, and wouldn't hurt to show it off. So and I think this build has it. When you go to upload, we give you the dimensions that make sense. We also will resize to make sure it fits. So, and in some cases, we've played around with uploading a 2000 pixel logo, and it renders back down to the right size. In the previous product, if you put a really large logo in, it would stretch the whole screen out and make the product unusable. We've
Can you actually
solved
see
that
the
problem.
window here? I'm not
No,
sure
we
if you can see it.
can't
Okay.
see the pop-up at the moment. But we also, as we mentioned before, we separated this page. So now there's the login logos section and the site logo section. You've also noticed that previously on the logos section of our product, you would upload a logo and it would always be on a plain background. Now, and as John's showing you here, we're showing you some of the aspect ratio and suggested constraints. But if you pop back, you'll notice that the logos we're showing you are now rendered on whatever your site colors are. So for the left logo file, we're going to be representing that background color to what's in the product itself. So you'll be able to see it before you finally save your changes to get an idea of how it's going to look, especially if, for those of you who are not using transparent backgrounds or others, we want you to be able to work with those. And in most cases, when your site is upgraded, we'll be able to handle the logo transition for you, but the ribbon is now gone and the top bar is now the new title bar. So you might need to change your logo if it's on a white background right now and not transparent, or you can change the top menu bar's color. But after upgrade, there might be one or two small things you want to do with your logos. We will get them into the right spot, but you might want to polish it. We can't account for every logo state during the upgrade. So that's one area of consideration. Deployment date was a new question that we got as well. So right now we are shooting to announce this at the end of this month. So we're pretty much done. If you notice, we've already upgraded our support site to 14. So if you wanted to log into support and poke around on it on your own, feel free. We hope to have it announced the 27th or so. That's the current target, but it will announce when it's ready. So we want to make sure that we iron out the little kinks, we use it ourselves, polish any rough edges before we hand it all to you. So we're expecting it to release at the end of this month. Were there any other questions? Will there ever be the ability to customly move issues around in the assigned tab? I think, are you referring to like the issue hub, moving issues by dragging and dropping them from one tab to the other? It's a great idea. We don't have that currently featured, but it's kind of like a Kanban board type of approach to handling issues, which is something that we're interested in exploring. The ability to move issues from a stage to another stage through drag and drop is something that's very appealing to us.
Right now, we can move the tabs. So if you have a tab section, you can move the tabs around. So it would be the entire look as of right now in 12.10 and up.
Oh, he clarified.
Yeah.
Are you referring to the issue hub itself? Because that's just the issue number itself. So moving issue 4 to position number 1, it's just ordering this list in this view based on the identity of the issue. So you can sort it. So if the number is higher or lower, it's just a sort on the list. It's not an order of priority or anything other than the sort of the actual view that you're in. And you can sort by every column. If you'd like to dive deeper into some of these questions, we can always get, break off separately or call the support team and show you how this works. But sorting here in the issue hub is fully controllable for every column you add, and what visibility you have.
Andre asked the question about the global tab, the global tab not showing in this view. It's one of the tabs that we have disabled for this view.
Yes, if you could turn,
or the features not turned on, one of the two.
Yeah, so the issue hub responds based upon what features are turned on, and then what tabs you choose to show. So if you show issue hub settings, John, within the issue hub, you can turn on and off tabs as well as your custom tabs, and we have global issues turned off. Any other questions? We'd love to hear from you folks. We took a lot of care into addressing longstanding customer asks and solving our own pains as well. Many of the things you see in here were asks from our own support team and our own employees because they use the product, as power users every single day. If we don't get any new questions, we'd
Ty's
like
got
to.
one on.
Oh, here we go.
One at the bottom, Dan, from Ty. Will version 14 come with new reports? Was the last one he had. The last one I see, I think.
The reporting feature is largely the same. We do have a design or desire to improve reporting, and this might be a good segue to bring up the product roadmap. We're taking great care to be far more transparent as to what we're doing and when and how quickly. And as a result, we've been maintaining and updating our product roadmap pretty consistently. And we wanted to continue to do this. And this, if you're ever wanting to know exactly what's coming up in the very near future, we update this about every month in the middle of the month or so to make sure it is as accurate as possible. The beyond column generally ends up fueling what you'll see in the next month. But sometimes it ebbs and flows a bit based upon priority. But you can see in April, we're describing what's coming with 14. In May, we're planning a new integration using Microsoft's 365 Graph API, as well as a dark mode functionality. And then back to the earlier comment, we are planning a reporting redesign sometime in the near or sometime close future. This is why it's the beyond section, because we're not exactly sure when, but it is a desire to improve how that works. It's a little clunky now.
One of the other things I wanted to point out here, if you look at April, April is a really good bulleted breakdown of what is coming in Issuetrak 14. So if you're someone who wants to share this information with other internal stakeholders, people inside your company, let them know what's coming, this would really be a really good place to go and just quickly copy and paste this, for example, into an email, just to give people a heads up internally of some of the changes they can expect. I wanted to take you to a couple of other links too that will help you out with regards to that. So we have our what's new page. Right now, this is not updated to necessarily reflect everything in 14. There is an Issuetrak 14 section down here towards you can see a screenshot right here, and then towards the middle. As we get closer to the release of 14, this page will update to be 14 specific. So it'll be another great place to go and get a great breakdown of everything related to what's coming. If you want kind of like a deeper dive now, and you may not have time necessarily to go back and watch this video again, we also have been doing a series of blog articles that break down a lot of the major new features coming in the application. The what's new page right now actually has links broken out for you, so you can quickly get to those. Also, if you just go straight to our blog and you open up this one here at the top, everything else in Issuetrak 14, you'll be able to get to, again, another quick links that have all the blog articles posted there. These blog articles are great. They go, they take nice deep dives into everything that I've talked about. You can see the logo, new icons up close. Some of the actual blog articles may have imagery that show previous iterations. When 14 was in active development, a few things obviously changed as we started using it, testing it, and things like that. But for the most part, the pictures are accurate. And again, the what's new page will be updated here in the not too distant future to really break down all the great things coming in 14. We talked about the roadmap already. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is, if you have something today that you notice that you want to provide feedback on, or if you have really anything you want to be able to provide feedback on when it comes to the product, we do have a product feedback form available. We highly encourage you to fill this out with as much detail as possible. This goes directly to myself, Dan, and Lisa, the director of development. We review these, quite often. A lot of what went into 12.10, for example, the issue hub updates, almost all of that actually came from submissions that we received from this forum. People using issue hub wanting improvements and changes. I think even Mike was responsible for a few of those as well. So we really recommend and cannot thank you and ask you enough to use this form, because this is one of the key areas of how we continue to improve Issuetrak. To get to this spot, just to show you, if you go to our website and scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the product feedback link right here where I'm highlighting, and that'll take you to this form.
And we did get another question. I want to make sure we acknowledge it as well. We were asked about reporting and exporting data between the HTML format and the XLSX format. It is an item that is in our roadmap. It's there's some complexities with that in dealing with HTML and exporting. But it is something that we continuously work to improve and tackle. We've done some of that through certain areas of the product, and it is on top of our mind when we approach the redesign and improvements for reporting and improving the ways that you can export data from the product. So it's definitely not lost upon us that it could be a little smoother. So thank you. Well, thank
Does
you,
anybody
John.
have anything else they want to add?
There was another question. Well, the user experience site we had before with user voice did not allow us to be as responsive or omnipresent as we'd like. We've made a lot of changes at Issuetrak in the last year or so. And one of the first things we did was make a significant focus on customer response to feedback. With John's position and me and the CEO, as well as remaining a member of the PO team, along with our director of development, Lisa, we are spending a decent amount of time every 2 weeks curating and responding to the feedback received through the new form. And we continue to improve that. We continue to respond to the requests as we receive them as we can, and build those features into the product that we end up getting requested for. Sometimes we get product feedback for features that actually already exist in the product, and then we pass those around to appropriate members of support or account management, or reach out directly to try to close those gaps as well. We acknowledge that lots of users and customers want features, and some are more important than others, and some fit well. And we try to do our best these days to really improve the product in sensible ways that can acknowledge all of the various different ways that it's used and the various different industries that it lives in, to provide the best product that we can.
And another important thing to note too, for those folks who did enter things into user voice and are familiar with that, we didn't lose that feedback. We still have access to all of that feedback, and we still reference it. So even though we're not using that tool anymore in terms of being the front end for providing feedback, we didn't do away with the feedback we already have. We still have it, and it's still very valuable and important to us.
Yes, thank you very much, John.
Dan, there is a question about Exchange Online. Will it be supported for incoming email in 14?
Well, we already support Exchange Online or 365 right now. The incoming email module has through IMAP or POP, or even Exchange support for 365. But Microsoft is deprecating the basic authentication method. And we want to be able to provide a little bit tighter integration for more secure implementations with 365. So we will be adding a dedicated 365 integration using a very specific connection method described by Microsoft through their Graph API. And that will release very soon after 14. Right now it's scheduled for the May release, one of our May releases. If you need help connecting to 365 right now, don't hesitate to reach out to support. It can be accommodated right now. In fact, a lot of our own mailboxes that we use are hosted in 365. Any other questions? Hopefully we've been able to respond to everyone. If not, please don't hesitate to reach out to support or your account management team, or even through the product feedback. We're here to do our best to provide the best product we can. And it's important that we listen to you and that we get this right. And we think we've done a really good job of focusing on improving how you experience our product and shortening the clicks and making things more, responsibly, present, and not losing your context or taking you away. And we really want this to work for you folks. And your feedback will be very helpful.
Out, Dan, if you don't mind, I wanted to point out in the chat window, Sarah posted a link to a URL to our LinkedIn groups page. That's where we can continue discussions on different items. If you wish to do that after this particular webinar is completed, please search through the chat and find that link and join Sarah and other employees of Issuetrak on that discussion page. So we really like to have you engage us in many ways, not only on the product feedback pages, but in other ways also.
Yes, indeed.
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, everyone. If there's no other questions in the next 10 seconds or so, I think we'll conclude the webinar today. John, thank you very much for taking us all through it. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for all the questions today.